Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch every live Premier League game this season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
John Duggan with you with this news flash. Chelsea have sacked Thomas Tuchel, Champions League winning manager, in the last hour. This is a statement from the club. On behalf of everyone at Chelsea FC, the club would like to place on record its gratitude to Thomas and his staff for all their efforts during their time with the club. Thomas will rightly have a place in Chelsea's history after winning the Champions League, the Super Cup and Club World Cup in his time here. As the new ownership group reaches 100 days since taking over the club, and as it continues its hard work to take the club forward, the new owners believe it's the right time to make this transition. Chelsea's coaching staff will take charge of the team for training and their preparation of our upcoming matches as the club moves swiftly to appoint a new head coach. There'll be no further comment until a new head coach appointment is made. So Thomas Tuchel took over at Chelsea in January of 2021 from Frank Lampard, won the Champions League within 6 months. Hasn't been the best start to the season. They lost to Leeds and Southampton in the Premier League, and they lost last night to Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League. He's been publicly critical of the team last night and in previous games. But Kathleen McNamee, this is an extraordinary development, and it just shows where football is right now. Have you any more on this story?
I have a bit, yeah. The Telegraph Sport is reporting that Tuchel was informed this morning that he'd be gone, but that already was on the table that he was going to go win, lose or draw last night in the Champions League, which is interesting, and it makes sense, I suppose, when you think of what you've said there about the fact that he hasn't been all that happy the last while. They say that they want to move quickly to replace him, but that they aren't all that satisfied that he's the right man to lead under this new era, under the co-owners Todd Bowley and Clear Lake Capital, that they want someone who's much more aligned with what they want to do, someone who is going to want to take on the extra responsibility that he was given over the summer, which he said very publicly that he did not like. And clearly the owners have just been a bit at odds with him throughout. And as well, it says in this Telegraph piece from Matt Law that the sources have also claimed that his relationship with a number of the squad has deteriorated, that they're not happy with team selections, that there was a bit of a player revolt going on. So it seems like this has been building for a while, and while we may be shocked, I don't know, will that many people from inside Chelsea be shocked? Well,
the former Chelsea star Pat Nevin is on the line. Pat, good morning.
Good morning to you, John. How are you doing?
Are you shocked, Pat? We're shocked. I'm shocked. Are you shocked?
Surprise going towards shock. I would put it in that sort of ballpark at the moment. I didn't think it would happen this quickly. Certainly it has been a stinker of a start to the season for Chelsea. Pochettino's his name has been mentioned already. It has Potter, Postecoglou, you name it, lots of them. But we thought we'd be talking about them in about 6 months' time, but not today. It is stunning. So there has been, as Catherine was saying there, certainly some disagreement behind the scenes between, the manager and the new ownership. And, that can happen when you get new ownership, new ideas. But that start to the season. Now, I've been at quite a few of the games. I was at the last game. I was at the Everton game when they were very poor in that game as well. I covered the Dinamo Zagreb game last night for Chelsea TV. And my jaw was on the floor. There just didn't seem to be any joined-up thinking. And there certainly didn't seem to be any passion. And if you're a manager in the current Premier League and Champions League, you need to get passion out of those players. And he wasn't getting it for whatever reason.
They were brilliant against Spurs only a few weeks ago. But is there a sense, maybe from what you're saying there, Pat, that the players have stopped playing for him?
Well, it looked like that. Whether they've stopped playing for him or stopped playing for the club or stopped playing for themselves, we will always aim it at the manager when the manager goes. That's what happens. But hey, you get paid a lot of money. You should go there and give everything you have for every single game, whether you hate the manager or love the manager. So, I'm not letting people off with that. I wouldn't accept that. But it may well be that he's certainly not getting the best out of them. But put that squarely and blame the shoulders of the manager. I think that's tough. But, he's had if you look at the team that they started the game last week, they had 5 players who started. That's hard to outside your players. They had not been in the club last season. So there was a massive transitional period that they were going through. So that's why I thought he'd be given a little bit more time. But as you say, when that's happening and you look as if you haven't got the team with you, in this league and at this level, you don't win. You don't think, well, wait a minute, we'll give them a year and see how it goes. That's not the way it works in football. It's certainly not the way it has historically worked at Chelsea. And it looks like the new history might not be that much different from the old.
Absolutely, under Abramovich. You got Todd Bowley coming in there from America, appointing himself sporting director. Every single day there seems to be Chelsea before the window closed associated with a new signing. Sure, they brought Aubameyang in. Sure, he was a Tuchel guy.
Exactly. I wouldn't be shocked that would be a bit of a sop, really. How much the Aubameyang cost? Was it 10 million? Well, have a look at all the other money that's been spent. You're talking 50s and 60s millions. That was the real buys, and that sounded almost to me a surprising, buy for Chelsea when you're going forward with the team to get a 33-year-old forward that, let's be fair, Arsenal didn't want, and Man City wouldn't take, or Man United wouldn't take, or Liverpool wouldn't take, and you're thinking, wait a minute, is that going to be Chelsea's real man? Is that where they're aiming now? So it certainly is a player who they bought in, come in and have an impact off the bench. Fair enough, I get that. But it may well be that partially that was a sop to Tuchel.
Pat, we were talking to Graham Hunter this morning on the show before all this news broke, and we were talking about Tuchel and his style of management and the fact that he was saying, if you're a player on the bench and you're listening to his more aggressive style, he's shouting constantly. In the media, he has never been exactly appraising of his players, especially the last couple of weeks. And there's been talk of the fact that there is that player discomfort with how he has been managing them. Do you think that played in more to the sacking, or do you think it is more the side of Bowley and the rest of the bidding group wanting someone different and someone that maybe is not going to publicly criticise as much as Tuchel has?
It may well be, because they'll have their own ideas. They've come in already and made a lot of changes at the club behind the scenes, so they may well have an attitude and an ethic that they want to follow, and it may well be that Tuchel doesn't mirror exactly that. We don't know. It's very much a may. In the end, when you get down to it, if you're winning games, you probably won't get sacked. You'll probably still be there.
Yeah.
And a lot of reasons, etc., are put up around it. And sometimes, those reasons are excuses, and sometimes those excuses are reasons. At the moment, I have a suspicion that, he's not going along with everything. I like your comment earlier on about the fact that, he was given responsibilities that he might not have felt that comfortable with. You have to, when you come into any organisation, understand everyone's remit, and people have to be confident and comfortable with their remit. And if he wasn't comfortable with his remit, then you've got a problem right away. What will be intriguing, though, is going forward, major businesses and major businessmen and people like Todd Bowley, etc., and clearly, they want it to be their Chelsea. And things will change. That's what happens when major people come into the organisations. They change it so that any success you get from here on in is laid at their door. And I suspect, as much as anything else, they want their clear start. It's their club now. Everything's different, and they can be judged by the decisions that they make going forward. And the first big decision they're going to have to make after releasing Thomas Tuchel is find out who his replacement's going to be. And I do wonder whether they've really thought about it in any depth yet.
I think they probably have. If you consider consider the way they've been approaching everything in the transfer market. It's Cucurella has been brought in, or Aubameyang, and all the time Sterling joined the club. But it's the link to Ronaldo, for example. It just seems to me that the owners have been quite busy in terms of their dealings. But what I'm interested as well from the perspective of the fans, Pat, because remember when Jose Mourinho left in 2007, there was a huge sense of mourning from the fans. How will the Chelsea fans react to this, do you think?
They're getting used to it, John. They've had it often enough. Now, to be honest, they love the fact that Tuchel got them that Champions League. It was fantastic. It was unexpected at the time. But remember, these are the fans that had to watch their beloved Jose and their beloved Frank Lampard sacked. They've had to get used to this sort of stuff. Now, if they want to make themselves really friendly with the Chelsea fans, they should go and phone up John Terry next, because they would love that. I think that's unlikely to happen, but they will, that's just the way it is. Chelsea fans, some will be disappointed, others would have felt, with the really poor performances at the start of the season, as I say, particularly away from home, they will have thought, wait a minute, he's not getting the best out of the team. But to be honestly, more than any group of fans you would care to mention, Chelsea fans are used to this. Todd Bowley's got a lot of credit in the bank because he's put a lot of money into the club. He's saved the club from a difficult position, with the sanctions and Abramovich last season. He's put his money where his mouth is from buying these players, and some would say overspending, but he's gone into the market and he's brought a lot of strength and depth into that team. So they're not going to turn on the new man. I think they will be surprised, saddened to some degree, but they'll just be looking forward to Chelsea fans. That's the way to do it.
Pat, do you think there's any chance that Tuchel himself had started to maybe check out from the job a little bit? Because it was only a month ago that he was saying there were preliminary talks about extending his contract, but he wanted to wait until the end of the transfer window before doing anything else. Is there a chance there was a breakdown there between the two, or that he himself was maybe being told he was going to have to take on more than he wanted? Because it seems strange as well to take in those players, have that transfer direction, and then immediately bring in another manager unless you're planning it for some time.
Yeah, I mean, unless the manager didn't bring on those players, most of those players, but that's not unusual in the modern day game. To be honest, I've heard a lot of rumours for about 2 or 3 weeks now that Tuchel has been kind of matching for a move. Those rumours haven't come from Chelsea; they've all been from various places in the media. He was kind of nudging his way out because he felt that the direction was going wasn't going to be suiting him, or he may well have felt that in long term they would get rid of him anyway. So you might as well do it sooner rather than later, so that you can get any job that's available. So who knows? And the sadness is, we work hard and we try to find out, don't we? But these gagging clauses you get these days, you almost never find out what the truth of it is. But I'll certainly keep my ear to the ground, around the club and to find out what it is, because I'm intrigued by it. Because he had some serious success with Chelsea, and the way he played last season for periods of it, they were interesting as well. But this season has been such a bad start. There's such a bad feeling with some of the players underperforming so terribly. The one classic, here's a classic one. They've got a number of players that, the Chelsea fans love. Billy Gilmour, sold. And that really shocked and upset them. Christian Pulisic is not playing well at all just now, and hardly getting a sniff under Thomas Tuchel. Now, Christian Pulisic, for those who don't know, he is a god in America. American soccer, he is amazing, godlike, best ever player we've ever produced status in America. So people at Todd Blow are thinking, hey, why are we not getting the best out of this guy? This is our Beckham, And so there's things that we don't see from our internal viewpoint. And their monologue might be, well, wait a minute, if we bring somebody else in, he will get the best out of people that we like that came through the system. And that's what that might have been driving part of it. But it is mostly supposition.
Yeah. Tuchel's had form now with issues with PSG, had a fractious relationship with the people there, even though he brought them to a Champions League final. I'm just a bit shocked because I just think, if you win a Champions League about 16 months ago and you get the club back into the Champions League, you're world champions, you're bringing all these signings in, then I do think you deserve time. But maybe the approach from the owners is to say, you know what, we're new people, we want to make our own decisions, and Thomas does not fit that pattern. Who would you like to see get the job then, Pat?
I mentioned before, people immediately start talking about Pochettino. Graham Potter has been fabulous for a wee while now. That's a possibility. I happen to be in love with Postecoglou at Celtic. Now, I actually quite like Celtic too, so I don't want Celtic to lose. So, and even though I'm talking to you now from Amsterdam, I'm going to the Rangers game tonight. I think there's a number that they'll look around. Have a look around at the amount of highly regarded American coaches there are at the moment as well. Would there be a possibility that they might go down that route? Who knows?
Jesse Marsh type.
There.
Yeah.
Exactly. They might go a manager that we wouldn't have even considered, but they want to bring their ideologies to it. I don't know if that's the case. But the way it is with Chelsea, it was the sort of thing that many years ago used to worry me as someone who's Chelsea-minded. But the way it's been for the last 20 years or so, you get rid of a great manager, it's all right, there'll be another one like a bus along in a minute. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So they'll have plenty of options of who to bring in. But I wouldn't know who I would want to go to. I would be like them, giving it plenty of time and having a good look around.
Enjoy Rangers against Ajax tonight, Pat. Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Speak to you. Bye.
Pat Nevin there, Kathleen. And I think it's rash. I think I'm not so sure about this ownership. I think Thomas Tuchel's been hard done by.
Well, it's not. In some ways, it's not surprising when you look at who else they've got rid of. They've very much been dismantling a lot of the Chelsea systems that have been there over the last couple of years. And maybe this is just another one, because we all know how close Tuchel was to the previous ownership. I thought it was funny, Pat mentioning Ange there. Literally, we had a conversation this morning about how soon was it before big European clubs were going to start calling for him after last night's performance. Clearly could be a bit quicker than we all thought it would be.
Absolutely, yeah. Breaking news this morning, folks. If you're just joining us on our digital channels here and Off the Ball, Thomas Tuchel's been sacked by Chelsea. Major news. We're going to have a lot more on this on the PM show on News Talk and Off the Ball this evening between 7 and 10, and we'll chat then.
On Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch every live Premier League game this season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.